Max and Orion, sorghum harvest is winding down in Kansas, and while planted acres were down about 10% this year, yields have been notably higher. We stopped in at Jeff Caston's farm in east central Kansas to get a report on this year's sorghum harvest.
The plantings being down could be a weather factor. The yields being a little higher could indicate that the correct amount of moisture fell in certain places. And I'd say the lion's share of a lot of sorghum grown in Kansas is in the central section of Kansas. So if those counties there happen to get a rain or two different than the rest of the state, those yields could be up dramatically, even though the acreage is down. But it all depends on where it fell and when. Sorghum is a very water-sipping crop, we like to call it, because it takes very little moisture to make things happen. And the amount of moisture that fell on this field behind me was not a lot, and it came at the very inopportune times, but it still made a pretty decent-looking crop.
Caston says sorghum is a good fit for his operation.
Well, it's a feed grain, very similar to corn. So corn and sorghum use a lot of the same herbicides, a lot of the same agronomic traits, but sorghum is planted about a month later than corn. But it rotates really, really nice with soybeans, which I grow a lot of too. So those two crops and soybeans are pretty much my mix, and it works well.
In its most recent estimate, USDA pegged the Kansas sorghum crop at 188 million bushels, up 14% from last year. Sorghum producers will tell you the higher yields are truly weather dependent.
If you didn't get planted early on, nothing happened for about a month during the prime part of the planting season. For about a month, we just sit around and watched it rain. Then when it did dry up enough we could finish, at least in this part of the state, it was like, hurry, quick, because it's about over. And sorghum fell into that category, so it got planted very late, and I had to switch to a very short season variety to get it finished before the fall frost hit. And so this crop is not near as good as what I had hoped, but it's just 1 year out of many.
While serving on the Kansas Sorghum Checkoff Commission, Caston has seen progress being made for marketing the crop.
Kansas farmers had decided a long time ago that unless they contributed to a fund to do some things that they could not do by themselves, had to have a pool of money to make it happen. That started, I think, in 1985, and since then we've slowly been making progress on doing things that we couldn't do as individuals. But we administer funding from that program to do research, market promotion, overseas market development, and a number of things that will help the sorghum farmer. And we've been able to do a lot of good things.
With this year's harvest almost on the books, it's been a very positive one for sorghum producers. Reporting from Quinamo, Kansas, I'm Janelle Ost for This Week in AgriBusiness.